Hello everybody, welcome to this channel. I'm Payman Hasari. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk about recommendation system. A recommendation system is a system that provides suggestions or recommendations of products to users and make prediction based on users' historical behavior. It tries to predict user preference for a set of items. Ranked-based or popularity-based recommendation system is probably the simplest recommendation system and suggests product or item based on the popularity. A set of most popular items will be recommended to all users regardless of their preference. The dataset we use is rating of movies, and I provide the link in the description. We will find most popular items and recommend them to the users. However, in order to not introduce bias into the model, we remove users and items with a small number of ratings. Let's take a look at the data. As you see, we have over 105,000 examples along with 4 regular attributes. Attributes are user ID, movie ID, rating, and timestamp. For the ranked-based recommendation system, we don't use timestamp, so we remove this column from the dataset. In order to remove timestamp attribute, I use select attribute operator. Bring the operator into the process panel, connect these two operators together, and configure this operator. Attribute filter type, because I'm going to remove one column, I just choose single, and the attribute name is timestamp. And I'm going to invert the selection, which means that I deselect this timestamp attribute. If I take a look at the result and run the process, I see that timestamp column is now being removed from the dataset. Next, I'm going to make a copy of the dataset, and in order to do that, I use an operator called multiply. Bring multiply to the process panel and connect to the operator. Multiply operator has nothing to configure, and I will explain why I use this multiply operator. What it does is simply make a copy of the dataset. Next, I'm going to remove users with a small number of rating. I need to count the number of rating for each user. To do that, I use aggregate operator. Bring the operator here, connect it to the multiply operator, and configure it. Aggregation attribute is rating, and I need to use the number of rating which the aggregation function should be count. I apply this, and I apply this for group by attribute based on user ID, which means that I count the number of rating for each user. After counting the number of rating for each user, I use a filter example operator to remove users. Bring it to the process panel, connect it to the aggregate operator, and configure this one. In the filters parameter, I choose count of rating, and I want to be bigger than or equal, let's say, 100. So which means that if there is a user with less than 100 rating, that user will be removed from the dataset. Keep in mind that this is aggregated data for each user. To have those users with over 100 rating from the original dataset, I use join operator. Bring the join operator. The left data set is from the aggregation data, and the right data set is from the original data set. And I configure this one. The join type is inner, and the key attribute is user ID. Now I have users with at least 100 rating. Now I'm going to remove movies with a small number of rating. Similar to what I did for users, I use aggregate and filter example operator. Bring the aggregate operator, connect it to the join operator, and configure this one. This time, for aggregation attribute, I count the average as well as the number of rating. So this is count, and I add another entry, again for rating, and I calculate the average. I apply, and for group by attribute, I use movie ID. Apply, and next is to use filter examples. Bring the operator here, connect these two operators together, and configure this one. In filters, I'm going to choose count of rating to be bigger than or equal to some specific number. Again, let's use 100. Okay. Now I have movies with at least 100 ratings. I also calculated the average rating for each movie. Next, I want to sort movies based on their average rating using sort operator. Bring the sort operator into the process panel. Connect it to the filter example operator and configure this one. For the sort by, I use average rating and I sort them from the highest to the lowest. And I apply it and connect this one to the output and run the process, which shows me the movie, the count of rating, and the average rating from the highest to the lowest. Now I can recommend the first few movies based on their highest average rating to all users.